Well, welcome everybody. This is a somewhat regular podcast that Tofu Ghost and I host, where we talk about local LA news and civics and stuff like that. Today, our guest is Albert Corado. Albert is a community activist who runs some of the best, coolest, dopest shit going on in the city politics section. Abolitionist, resident thick boy, enjoyer of cheeseburgers, and Burger King is the choice, right?
Yeah, that's,
Ooh, damn.
My allegiance is strong. I've been going since I was a young boy, and unfortunately, at 35, I'm still going there. I wouldn't say as regularly as I once was, but maybe once a month, get a little treat.
So Whopper supremacy then.
Yeah, I think the Whopper is honestly a goated fast food sandwich. I'm all about it.
Word. I'm not mad at that. Also, if I remember correctly, Connor Oberst, big Connor Oberst fan.
Yeah, man, I have a few obsessions in my life that I really wear proudly. Bright Eyes, Connor Oberst band, just released the new single today, and the new album is on its way. Yeah, so it's a decent first single. It's okay, whatever. But the album comes out in September, and he's playing some shows in LA the week before my birthday this year, so in October. So I'm pretty stoked about it. I've seen him literally 66 times in concert.
Holy shit!
So I'm looking to add to the list.
That's dope. I've seen Bright Eyes once. Wait, was it a Bright Eyes record or a Connor Oberst record?
Bright Eyes record, yeah. It's coming out in September. Yeah. No, when did you see Bright Eyes?
Oh fuck. That would have been at the Fox Theater in Pomona. That would have maybe been like 2014 or 15-ish, around that time, or around that.
Yeah, I was at that show for sure.
Oh, were you? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because anytime it comes to, so I lived in the Bay for a bit, so anytime he was in the Bay, I went to see him. And growing up in Los Angeles or whatever, like anytime he came anywhere near Los Angeles or anywhere around there, I always try to go. So I'm sure we were standing in the same room at some point.
Dope.
Yeah.
Tofu won't say it, but Tofu did a beautiful rendition of a Bright Eyes song for a karaoke night we had a few weeks back.
Yeah.
We were doing a fundraiser karaoke night with a bunch of different streamers for Palestine. And Tofu's contribution was very beautiful, somber. What was the song?
You guessed it. That's the karaoke song. Like that's the that's like the popular everybody sing along song. That's but I had two choices that like I came to the stream with two choices. It was Shook Ones Part 2 by Mobb Deep, and it was First Day of My Life by Bright Eyes. And I thought I was only gonna do one, so my chat voted on doing Mobb Deep, and so I performed Shook Ones Part 2 first, but then we ended up having another round, so I was able to get in a little a little sad boy song with the First Day of My Life. It was wholesome.
Yeah, I think that really showcases who you are as a person. I've never met you, I don't know you, but it really does encapsulate who you are, and I respect it. I mean, I can listen to really sad boy shit too, but also I do like some pretty aggressive hip hop too. So I respect that.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Two wolves inside of you. One is a Bright Eyes fan, the other is a Mobb Deep fan.
Exactly.
So Albert, I wanted to definitely give you some space and time to talk about the amazing stuff you're doing in LA. So could you tell us, I feel like a lot of people may be familiar with People's City Council via Twitter or mostly Twitter, I guess, but what can you tell us what the org is? How did it get started? What is People's City Council?
Yeah, first of all, how many people are watching right now? I just want to
well, viewer Andy, but I got 190 and Tofu's got 100, so 300 plus.
Sweet. Okay. So yeah, People's City Council, we're a direct action focused organization. Bunch of abolitionists. We try to take it to the streets when we can. We try to educate when we can. The origin of People City Council goes back to right at the beginning of the pandemic. I had been kind of, getting into organizing and getting to know people in the movement. And when there was like a eviction moratorium on the city council docket. And it was like, like pretty decent one. I mean, the city will never really help people, but it was the best thing that they could have offered at the time. And through committee and all that bullshit, can I curse, by the way? Sorry.
Yeah. Say whatever as long as it's not like open calls for violence. I think it's within TOS.
Okay, so they watered down this bill, this eviction moratorium, and Mitch O'Farrell, who was the guy that I ran against, was one of the people who helped water it down. And it kind of, by the time it got to city council, it was toothless. Nothing really got done. People were not really protected, and people were pissed. And this is the time where we were having to go outside of City Hall because of social distancing, and everything was, people were still kind of confused of what to do. Some people were wearing masks, other people weren't. And so this is early March of 2020. And a few people just got online and were like, this sucks. Fuck city council. They screwed us again. And through kind of being on Twitter and other social media, people came together and were like, hey, we should do something. And my friend Nicole Donanian Blandone, who is also a founding member of People City Council, she loves to tell the story of how she got drunk one night on some wine and is like, you know what, we should go visit these fools at their house, because they're elected officials, they're publicly elected officials, so their addresses are available to people. Let's go. Since we're in the beginning of a pandemic, let's get in our cars, we'll bring signs, we'll honk, we'll make sure it's safe. And out of that was born those big car protests you would see in Los Angeles. And out of those protests, we were going to Nuri Martinez's house and Mitch O'Farrell's house and the mayor's house. Garcetti was mayor at the time. And as we kind of started to do this more, a little group of people coalesced that were like, hey, we should talk about this more and come up with some strategies. Let's hop on a Zoom and talk about some stuff. And I think initially it was like 12 people who were like down to sit down and chat. And the original sort of People City Council was 10 of us. And we were just kind of like, hey, we are pissed at the city. We're abolitionists. We want to make sure that our voices are heard and that we're being safe. And why don't we sit here and intentionally try to do something with the protests, but with social media. Richie Sergenko, who is, one of the founding members as well, very savvy in social media. I was, decent at it at the time. And we're like, hey, why don't we just start a Twitter and start an Instagram and let's fuck shit up and let's spread the word. And from there, from the end of March of 2020 to now, it's been 4 years of us taking it to the streets and to elected officials. And I think I'm very proud to say, one of the most popular political Twitter accounts out there. People that I don't know, that I've met from other parts of the country, are like, oh yeah, People City Council, I was sharing this stuff. I'm like, dude, that's so cool, because like that's me, that's my friends, that's something that we just kind of created in a Zoom 4 years ago, and have been really dedicated. It's one of the things I'm most proud of, and I dedicate a big portion of my time to it. And we're still doing this. We're still trying to get the word out about abolition and holding people accountable. Where other organizations waver and sell out, we've not done that. We made a lot of enemies in being principled people. And I'm really proud at the fact that People City Council is very principled, and we don't suck up to elected officials. We don't give people a pass if they're doing things that are harming people. And I'm really proud of that. And that's kind of what we do. And from there, we raised $2 million. It's been a whole roller coaster of a thing.
So I heard from some DSA comrades that you guys were, is your FBI handler listening? Are they in the chat right now, or?
Yeah, it's so funny to hear that, because when people talk shit, it's fine, it's great, it means you're doing something right. I mean, we piss off the right-wing trolls. When it comes from within your own movement, or ostensibly within your own movement, it's very funny. But I'll say I take offense to that, because not only are we're not ops or cops or FBI, but like the people who make up People City Council, right? Richie he's a really dope ass white dude. He's one of the good ones, as I always say, like it's a group of very dedicated, very informed people that have lived experience of being screwed over by the system. Being, a lot of people who know me will know that my sister was killed by the LAPD in 2018. And so when people say that about our organization, I'm just like, you know what, you can talk some shit. You can say that our tactics are maybe not up to, not what you would do, but to try to, like, put some shit on us, like, oh, you guys are ops. My sister died at the hands of LAPD. Everybody who's part of People's City Council, which is a majority POC group, by the way, I think people don't always know that. We all come from very radical backgrounds, whether that's because things happen to us or we are part of a tradition of people who read about it, who read theory, who do things, who've been through shit. And so, people like the DSA can talk all the shit they want, but we are not a reading group. We're not also sucking up to elected officials. And do we sit there and say, hey, we think that we're going to put a little bit of support? We don't endorse people ever, but we're going to put some support. We're going to retweet stuff. Sure, we've done that. We were behind Nithya. We were, hey, she's better than David Rue. But the moment that people step out of line, that's like, well, you know who we are, so we're not going to give you a fucking pass. And I'm proud that we are constantly making enemies of people who are in elected office because they think that we're like going to take it easy on them because, like, hey man, like I'm kind of with it, but when they sell out, we tend to give up on them and then attack them, whereas other organizations still try to, it's okay. You can admit that you're wrong. You can admit that, say, hey, we shouldn't have put our energy
Wouldn't that be nice
behind this person. But this whole thing of like they believe that they're somehow going to hold their elected officials, endorse elected officials accountable. It just doesn't work, man. So what we do, we know that we can't hold Nithya accountable, even though we supported her in 2020. So what we're going to do is we're going to make her job harder and let people know every time she steps out of line. And that, to us, is the easier thing than to write a resolution and do all the bullshit that they try to do. It's theater,
Yeah, and for some context, like the reason why people, well, I mean, whatever, but people were saying that in the context of talking about the UCLA encampment and the UAW, working with the UCLA encampment, working with UAW 4811, and UAW, changing the demands and not signing on to very specific demands, namely no cops on campus. And also like a little bit of like criticism of their actions on the night of the police raid, and just that having that conversation in a public sphere to a lot of people was enough to, like, Fed jacket one of the most affected by political repression groups in the city. And I would, speaking of political repression and police surveillance, I think that's a great way to talk into Robinson Space, which is one of the most beautiful, spaces in the city to me. I have an event there tomorrow night, Films for Gaza. Come out if you guys want to. But yeah, could you talk a little bit about what Robinson Space is, and then maybe I know the previous space had a little bit more issue with police surveillance. You're in a different space now that's hopefully a little bit better, but.
Yeah, I mean, right now we're in Virgil Village as of like a year and a half ago. We started Robinson Space back in 2021 as kind of an outgrowth of organizing and realizing that there wasn't a lot of like physical space that people could go to and feel safe and feel comfortable in. That wasn't, it's like we want to talk about organizing. We want to talk about big ideas and things that the police want to hear about. And it's like, well, we need a place to do something. We need places where people can co-work, where we can do mutual aid out of. And so it was born out of a need for people to have a place to congregate. We had these visions, and I'll give a lot of credit to my friend Nicole. Again, she was the one who pushed, like, hey, we need a physical space, whether it's a small office or something bigger. And we worked with Robin Petering, who founded this group called Lensco, which is now called Young People to the Front. And we worked with her to find a place because she said, I want co-working space. I want a space to make people feel safe and that we can use to further the movement. Found a place in Filipino Town. Got kicked out of that. And then we ended up here in Virgil Village. And basically what we do here is we offer a space for the community to do anything they want. Basically, if it, we have limitations in that we're, it's a building that with rooms the size that they are, but like you have screenings that we allow you to do here. Other people have screenings. People do teach-ins and trainings, and we have a conference room where people have meetings and book clubs, and we vet people, we vet organizations. We have a way to make sure that law enforcement and people we don't fuck with uh, come here and try to take over the space, or to, we had an issue with the original space in Filipino Town where it was pretty big, and it was like there was a white wall that was perfect for like photo shoots, but also for like we were doing concerts and fundraisers, and it got a little bit out of hand. We couldn't always be there to make sure that everything went the way that we wanted it to, and some of the neighbors got pissed at us. The neighborhood council turned on us, the landlord turned on us, and we knew that some of it was because the police had been sending people to infiltrate events that were happening there, to spy on us, to see what we were up to. And so finally we left, and we've continued the mission of what we started out to do, and that's basically to offer a space for free to the community of leftists, of people who share our shared values. We're abolitionists, we're principled people, and we really don't charge anybody for anything. People can donate if they want. That's always good, because it costs a lot to rent a space. But we're basically trying to make this a meeting place for people who have similar views to us. If you talk to people who are in the movement, like one of the things they talk about all the time is like just wanting to connect with other people who believe in the things they believe in. And protest is a good way to do that, online, but to have a physical space where you feel safe, where you feel like there's people here who care about you, who care about the world in the way that you do, to us, that's really important. We have 2 podcast rooms because we believe in people spreading the word in any way they can. We've had, stop the bleed trainings. We have Plan B and Narcan and condoms and all this stuff as mutual aid that people can come. And if you come for an event, you can take all the shit that you want, because we want to make sure that people are safe, and we want people to come here and learn and to feel safe. And it's really, again, one of the most beautiful things I've been a part of is Robinson Space, and watching it grow to be this amazing thing. And when I tell people, I give people tours of the space so they can use it, and they're like, hey, so like, what does this cost? I'm like, oh, it's free. Like, if you want to donate, you can, but no pressure. And they're just like, no way. Oh my God, really? I'm like, yeah, this is our mission, is we will not charge anybody to use the space. Now, if an organization comes and they're cool as hell and they say, hey, we have a grant or we have money, we'll take it, because we pay people to do work here. We have rent that we need to cover. But fortunately, because People's City Council, we raised a bunch of money in 2020, we've been able to use some of that money to keep the lights on here and to make sure that we don't have to charge anybody to use this. And we have groups from 10 people sitting in a room doing a book club to 75 people here for a screening, and to us it is a very valuable thing to have a centrally located place where people can come and talk about the ideas and learn about the movement as it exists in Los Angeles right now.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, especially for coming from, someone like me and Bret, who, well, maybe more me, who come from like a really online space.
Mhm.
A lot of people can feel really disconnected from like next steps, or like what can I do, or feel very alone in feeling the way that they like disillusioned or angry or about whatever it is. So having that physical space is extremely important, and the nobody so many people are unable to do that because of the financial, hurdles that you need to clear to be able to keep a space like that open. I've personally benefited from being able to like take home masks and stuff from the Robinson space after like screenings there. I seeing the work in person, that as far as like raising money through these screenings or selling art. I've known about the Robinson space for a long time before I ever went there, just because of events that I've heard of people hosting or being a part of, or just like promoting, in the political space. It makes it a lot more real for a lot of people. For those that are able to make it out and do the work in person, it's important to have that place for that. So it's very, very, very cool, especially in a place like LA that is so huge. There's you would think that there would be more spaces like that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. That's what I was gonna say. Was just like it's hard to understate how rare third spaces like that are in LA, and like not even just like political third spaces, like any third spaces, any space that you can like organize an event or like, you know, that is like open to the community, like that just is so impossibly rare in this city. And so for us to have something that is explicitly abolitionist, that is explicitly political, and you know, driven by, you know, its politics is incredibly valuable, because it's just like people in the community need spaces like this. So for example, like I know like the neighborhood city council, for example, like the neighborhood councils, like they have previously met there, you know, for them to have to go that this is one of the only spaces that they can use, that for those like libs have to go into a room, and for their neighborhood council meeting to have to be in a space where there is a plaque and there's a framed picture on the wall that is defining what abolition means, like that genuinely I think is very politically significant, you know.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, there is a rich history of this movement, and you think about the Panthers or any group that was doing things, like they had places where they met. And I think that we live in a time where public space is being taken away from us and criminalized. And so to have a place where you can just come and hang out, and you know, we do things here that are fun, that are, you know, we want to make sure that like the basic functionality of this place is to use it for the community and for the greater good of the movement. But you know, occasionally we'll have stuff that's just like, hey, we also need to have fun. You know, I'll have people over and we'll use it if there's nothing on the calendar, because it is a valuable space to come and do stuff. And you know, we care about what events people are doing. We have a mixing board, we have really good speakers, we have, you know, tons of cords and connections, and we have microphones, and you know, people can come and use that stuff. And you know, we have an intake sheet basically that people fill out and say, this is my event, this is how many people, this is the time and the date. And we state explicitly, does your event, you know, feature any law enforcement or elected officials? And if they answer yes, then we say that's not for us. We also say in that intake form, hey, under no circumstances are law enforcement to be called to the Robinson space, and you have to agree to do this. We keep each other safe, as we know. And so we haven't really, you know, we've had people who hear about Robinson space like, hey, this is so cool, and like let me email you about my event, and we'll read about it, see who's involved, do a little research, and say, oh, we don't fuck with that organization that you're either trying to bring into the space or you're doing work with. And we've straight up told people, hey, we're going to decline. We don't agree that we don't agree with the fact that you or work with this organization or this person, and we advise you to look closely at that relationship, because it's not beneficial to you or beneficial to the people of Los Angeles. And so we want to be open to the community, but we know that people infiltrate. We know that people want to co-opt these spaces, and so we're pretty strict about who uses it. And as long as your politics are good and you promise not to bring any cops or elected officials, and it's even elected officials that we maybe don't fully hate, they're just not allowed here, you know. Like, we try to be as principled as possible, and you know, I wouldn't have it any other way, you know what I mean? Like, neighborhood councils meet here. There was an incident where one of the neighborhood councils brought a group of people, and a constituent was going off at a sitting city council member.
Well, my chat, I think both chats will know that we were talking about William Good and Film the Police LA.
Yeah.
And Hugo Soto Martinez, right?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, William showed up. He's a constituent of Hugo, lives in District 13, has every right to be at one of these events where he's answering questions. And he grilled him. And William does not put things delicately, right? He's confrontational, he's abrasive. That's what makes him an effective person at what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the people who was here at the behest of the city council or the neighborhood council tried to call the police on William. And we straight up told the neighborhood council, like, hey, if you ever bring anybody like that again, you're out of here. And I'll say that they haven't been back to hold a meeting here since then, because we understand that, like, I mean, and it was, the thing of like, that was when we learned, oh yeah, we can't have elected officials in here. Even their staffers, we kind of get weird with. And the sort of function of a neighborhood council is like, sometimes they have to have elected officials show up. Sometimes they have to have a police officer show up and give some report. And we're like, hey, if you're gonna do that, take the meeting somewhere else. Again, it's really what I love about Robinson Space and the people that I do this with and the people that I organize with in People City Council is that we really don't let shit slide. And I think that there's a lot of that going on in the movement right now where people are like, okay, lesser of two evils, let's, Jamal Bowman and Bernie Sanders is now saying that, Israel has a right to defend itself. And it's like, okay, we got to abandon those people. I'm sorry, but like, you can say that you love Bernie and he inspired you and all that shit. But the moment he's, it's like ultimately he's someone's grandpa. He's a fucking old white man. Like everyone will disappoint you. And so we try to live, roll with the fact that like we are just gonna keep organizing the way we do. So that way we'll never have to fucking, we'll rarely have to apologize for anybody we supported who doesn't ultimately stick to their guns. I'm getting a little off track here, but I needed to mention that meeting that Will was at because Will is he's a fucking badass.
Yeah.
And for us, it was a moment of like, this is what we need to, this space can do so many things, but inviting elected officials into here, whether they're horrible or not as horrible, is just not something that we want to do because it doesn't sit right with us because these are people that are causing a lot of harm to other people. And we just don't abide by that.
It leaves it leaves you open to like co-option, I guess. Like it makes you vulnerable. Like when you start being friendly and there's a revolving door with like local politicians, like it taints the space, it taints the purity. Maybe purity isn't the best word, but like you know what I mean. It taints the like for lack of a better term off the top of my head, like the for the people.
No, for sure. And the thing is, like now at this point, I think we have a reputation where most people, most elected officials wouldn't want to come here anyway. That's sort of the beauty of like when I was running my city council campaign, I was like, most of the people who would try to get me to sell out wouldn't even fuck with my campaign to begin with. So we were in essence, we were kind of like sellout proof because I'm saying things in such a way that like a lot of people are who are libs or whatever are turned off by it. So really we're kind of doing ourselves a favor in being as principled and as loud about stuff. We have a sticker club that every month basically we give out a sticker that is telling the police to go fuck themselves. Like that is
to get on this sticker
part of our
shit, man.
You listen. Obviously, you. I would love if you did, but I'll hook you up with some. We gotta.
Oh no, I'll get on the
stack here.
I'll get in. I'll get in on it.
Okay.
I need to get in on that.
Yeah, it's on the Patreon, which is linked in both of the chats, and the sticker club is awesome. I don't have my water bottle nearby me, but if you have a water bottle, you will have the coolest water bottle at the entire gym or your work or whatever you take your water bottle. It's gonna be fucking sick. So.
I need to.
Actually, these are both. All three of these stickers are Robinson Space stickers.
These are the. Can you see? Yeah, these are the newest ones. The fuck the police with the USC logo, because the encampment there, and then we have the ACAB with the UCLA. So you can. We try to have fun, and again, we are a community space that is run by people that we want to pay people. We want to pay people and say, hey. Like most of us are doing this shit for free, which is fine, but sometimes it's nice to pay people for their labor and join the sticker club, folks.
Oh yeah.
Could I ask about like all of the like, is it just strictly through donations and the Patreon that you guys do funding, or do you guys do like events or anything like that for strictly for funding? Or is there like I'm sure that we're gonna share the links for all of everything as well.
So in 2020, when People City Council was really kind of coming into its own, we were doing all these protests outside of the mayor's house. And, we get like 20, 30 people, sometimes more. They were getting bigger. And we noticed that people were getting cited, like for loud noises or parking their cars or whatever. And we're like, man, if we're going to invite people out to do this and they get in trouble and get a ticket, we should maybe pay for that. I went on GoFundMe, said, maybe we'll raise like 10,000. Whatever, and the thing sat dormant for like 2 weeks. We got a few $1,000. We're like, okay, whatever. When George Floyd was murdered, we said, hey, like we know that shit is about to pop off. We need to like make a bail fund, and a bail fund that also includes, you know, other things, but like maybe we can raise 20,000, maybe 50,000. We end up raising a little over $2 million in the span of a month. And so that money that we raised is now mostly gone. We've done press releases where we told people where it went. There's paper trails. It's all above board. But one of the things that we found ourselves, you know, after the initial surge of 2020 and a good chunk of the money leaving out the door, we were like, hey, we should, you know, we made this fund for a few specific things, but ultimately it was to kind of, you know, make sure that abolition gets to a wider audience. And so then we kind of broadened the definition of what the money was for and said, hey, we should do this physical space. Like this to us is a way to get people involved in the movement. We can do classes and have people come volunteer. And so we, you know, People City Council basically made a grant, if you want to call it that, for Robinson Space to become to exist. And then Robin Petering, who, you know, is the head of Young People's at the Front, also, you know, that was a 501. She was able to use that nonprofit status to raise money and get grants. And that's kind of where we're at right now, is trying to find new ways to bring money in through grants. And, you know, with the state and the city, you kind of have to be like, oh yeah, we're like a public safety focus. You know, you can't say like, hey, we're a bunch of fucking abolitionists and who have, you know, posters of burning police cars. You know, we have to be like, yeah, we're teaching the community about how to properly engage with the police, or, you know, something like that. And so that's kind of where, you know, the initial grant is helping, but also the you know, the Patreon does help a little bit, and also just grants and stuff that we're trying to. And we also have, you know, have people just donate from their, you know, funds and all that stuff. So it's, you know, we're still doing pretty well, but there will be a time, I think, where we're gonna have to find ways to make more money to keep this place going, because it does cost a lot of money. And we never, you know, we never want to get to the point where it's like, hey, we want you to pay, because ultimately most of the organizations that come through here just don't have a lot of money. And if that's gonna, you know, we never want to prevent them from. We don't care how small the event or how big it is. I mean, again, we have capacity, but we don't, you know, we want to make sure that it stays free to pretty much everybody. And so that's how we keep it going, is the sticker club and all that. But, you know, with everything there, we're always scratching our heads and, you know, thinking about new ways to make this shit, you know, be able to sustain itself. But as we all know, that there is not a lot of money in this movement. We're not actually funded by George Soros, you know.
True. Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, that's why. That's why it's so awesome that you are, you know, with your situation, you're able to give people the means, like people who would not have made a podcast otherwise, because they don't have the ability, they don't have the gear, they don't have money, they don't have time, you know, they got to work to pay the rent, you know what I mean, they got to keep a roof over their heads and they got to eat, so they don't have time to do whatever else it is, and to get the money to be able to get a physical space to be able to do whatever kind of activism or community-based like activity it is. So you're literally giving people the means to do that, and there's the possibility, the doors that continue to open from there, the possibilities would, you know, continue to be endless as far as like what that could mean for community building and, you know, whatever.
Yeah. And also, by the way, I know we've mentioned it a few times, but Robin's organization, Young People to the Front, is a youth homelessness like advocacy group, right? So like the nonprofits that are running out of Robinson Space are like some of the, you know, really they're addressing some of the most pressing issues facing the city right now. And like, you know,
one of our original partners who still it has some presence here is Polo's Pantry. It's run by my friend Melissa Asadera, and they're a food justice organization. So we, you know, and she helped us start Robinson Space as well. And so like we were created out of, you know, people from food justice, people from youth homelessness, and an abolitionist group filled with people who've been affected by the system. So, you know, we are coming at this as people with lived experience who can speak to being hungry, who can speak to being evicted from their homes, who can speak to, you know, having to deal with state violence. And I think that, there's this like apocryphal story that I love to tell where like, it's like, oh hey, like, there was this fucking, I think it was like Sex Pistols concert, and it was like terrible, and but everybody who was in the audience was so inspired that a bunch of them went to start bands like Talking Heads or whatever. And who knows how true that is, but to me it is very punk rock what we're doing. It's like
Yes,
some young
yes.
person can come here, look at the posters, come to a teach-in, come to a screening, talk to one of us who's just wandering around doing stuff, and they can go and start an organization. They can go and
Hmm.
read more about the movement. They can get involved. And to me, that's kind of the most powerful thing we have in this movement, is inspiring other people. In my own life, I've been able to slightly radicalize some of my more normie friends who they're sending me stuff now about Palestine. They're sending me things where I'm like, oh shit, like I didn't know you rolled like that. They're like, oh yeah, man, you really like opened my eyes. Like some of my cousins who I thought were completely apolitical are now rocking, Free Palestine on their social media. And
Awesome.
it's like, to me, that is what the best case scenario for Robinson Space is, that we are here for the community. People learn, they come here, they feel safe, but they also take the teachings and the feeling that they have when they're in here and they spread it around. And honestly, I would love for there to be a Robinson Space in the San Fernando Valley, one in Mid City, not to like franchise it, but for if there could be a dope ass abolitionist organizing space for free in the city, many more of them, for me that would be amazing. And to me, that is what, there are many ways to get to the world that we want to get to, and one of them I think is offering physical space to people to come and commiserate, to get angry, to, we have people come here and do art builds, like, hey, we have a protest tomorrow, we want to make signs, we want to hang a sign from the 101 freeway, can we do, and so we have these little rooms where people can come and our organizers, bring their kids here to hang out and help them. And it's very much a really friendly, fun space. We try to play cool music. We try to have people here, try to have some snacks and stuff. We have, nice soaps that people can take. We try to think of what people want when they come here, and we try to give it to them. And again, try to instill in their brain of like, hey, this is not being done by a bunch of elite people with a ton of money. This is like pulled together from the community, and we have people who donate things to us that we offer to people. We have people who donate their time to do things here. Say, hey, I want to come and do this for free. And it's like, to me, that is what the movement is at its purest form, is like everyone helping each other out. And
Hmm.
People City Council is a part of that. We're more trolly, but again, our hearts are in the right place. And Robinson Space was born out of the necessity that, the state will never take care of us. They will never solve our problems. They will only make them worse. And I saw the encampment that was in Echo Park Lake before it was swept.
Hmm.
And this is an encampment filled with people who are unhoused, who the city tried to retaliate against. They turned off the showers. They did all this. They, sicked the police on them. They cut off the lights, and they were able to make a little kitchen where they made food. They were able to have dance parties that they would invite the community to come and get to know them. It's like the state hates nothing more than people figuring out how to not rely on them. And to me, Robinson Space is, no elected officials are here, no law enforcement, nobody who's an elite part of society is here. And that's how it should fucking be, you know?
I love what you said about, to you that is punk rock, because to me a big part of what punk rock is to me, and growing up deeply in punk rock and everything, is DIY.
Yes, exactly.
DIY is the one of the biggest parts of like what the punk rock ethos is to me, and that is relevant when we're talking about like the conversations around electoralism. It's relevant. Uh, it's relevant. Period. So like taking it when you need, there's like, for example, I grew up like making zines and things like this, and it, like I said, the DIY thing has always been really important to me, and like the scenes that I grew up in, making your own packaging for CDs, helping each other with photography, and like everybody has like a skill, and everybody throws in and has projects together. That was always like the coolest part about punk rock, for me. And it's cool seeing now that like in my Twitch community, there are people I've noticed now, even all these years later, since that's like it's been years since I like made my last zine. There are people now that are eager for things like people to make zines with, to like help put out information. And so when you have places that are run by the DIY ethos and creating spaces like that, there are people who are eager to get into that want to put their hands on something. They want to physically make something. They want to be able to look someone in the eye and be like, we've made this together. So like like for the people in my community that are talking in the Discord, or like asking each other about like making zines together, I wish I could offer up a Robinson space to every single one of them.
Yeah, I mean, I could never have done the screening series.
Sorry, there's one thing, Bret. Right now we're trying to make one of the rooms into a dark room for like photography. So I'm just saying, we have a lot of people involved who want to do cool shit too, you know?
I have all of the, okay, we're gonna talk outside of this. I have
I
have all of the gear to make a dark room, and it's yours. Like I have multiple enlargers. Like I literally have all of the gear to make a dark room in my house, but I never got around to doing it. We'll talk about that. Yeah, outside.
We'll talk for sure. Sorry, Bret, didn't mean to cut off.
No, I was just gonna say, like,
for just a second, but you guys continue on. I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead. I was just gonna say,
enjoying this, by the way, are they enjoying it?
Yeah, people are loving it. Also, I saw the Vargas family in my chat, so.
Hey, shout out. Hell yeah.
I definitely wanted to, when I saw that, I wanted to shift the conversation, but I was like, whatever. It's great so far. Really, really good, Albert. But yeah, I would never have, like, when October happened and stuff started, like, Israel really started their siege in Palestine, like, I felt so lost and like just so destitute, but like, and if I didn't have Robinson space to be able to like host these screenings, like just being able to get involved and like have a space where I can like put this energy and this anger towards to not like go into despair, but to like, do something hopeful with it. It meant a lot to me. I appreciate having that space as an organizer. It means a lot. But anyway, I did want to shift a little bit just to talk briefly about your city council race. And I would love to just hear from you about how, like, why you decided to run for city council. What that race like kind of taught you as you went through it, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I decided to do it because I guess once I made the connection about how everything is connected, like my sister being killed by the LAPD. Well, they work for the city. And the city council, and the mayor make their budget, they approve it, they, choose what to take money from to give to the police. And I just thought, what, there are many avenues that I can take to try to do something positive, to get revenge for my sister, to, make sure that people don't forget what happened to her, to prevent what happened to her from happening to other families, other people. And so I think, of all the avenues I'm into organizing, I'm politically involved, but maybe city council would be, it is a powerful seat. You can do a lot with it. And I just said, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to do it in a way that's uncompromising, that is not, that people are going to tell me, hey, you're not going to win. And even if that was the case, even if I felt it sometimes deep in my heart that I wasn't going to win, I knew that I wanted abolition to be taken seriously. And for me to be mentioned in the same breath as the incumbent. And, there was a front runner and whatever that was, but I was always being talked about. It was like, oh, we have, Mitch O'Farrell, and then we have Hugo Soto Martinez, and there's this fucking insane person, Albert Corado, who like is calling for the outright abolition of the LAPD, to be taken seriously, to be mentioned in the articles, be mentioned at all the debates, to be taken seriously as a candidate, I think was important. It was, we were the first ones to announced that we were running in CD13. I did it the first day you could. And from that moment, we set the tone about abolition, about sex work, about all these things that people, climate, transit. It was like, okay, hey, we're in the fucking race. I'm a known person in Los Angeles because of my family and what we've been through. Now, everybody who joins the race, who isn't the incumbent, is going to have to answer the question of, hey, well, Albert Corado is saying, talking about abolition, and he's making
thoughts on this.
Yeah, what are the thoughts? Are you there? Are you there? And if you're not, why not? And so I wanted to put everybody in a corner and say, you're going to have to address this. We have, the best people that I know writing policy for us about policing, about, sex work and transit. And, Bret, you helped me make a bunch of videos, and it was amazing to be working in this sort of DIY punk sense of like, hey, let's just go shoot there. I'll come up with something. We did this amazing Rodney King video that people fucking love, that people still talk to me about, 2 years later, like, man, that video was so cool. And I ran because it made sense, and I wanted to win, obviously. I'm a competitive guy. But for me, it was kind of like, I want people to take what I'm trying to see, what this new world could be, seriously. I want people to be inspired by me running. And a lot of people have told me, hey man, you inspired me to run for neighborhood council. You inspired me to become an abolitionist. Like, I've heard all of these things. And for me, it taught me so much. It made my mental health suffer for sure. There was definitely a lot of it that wasn't fun, but kind of being in community with people and hearing from people straight up being like, hey, I've never had anybody who's running for office listen to me about this thing. We would go to parts of Elysian Valley and talk to people and, knock at the doors and be like, hey, they're like, no one ever comes here. No one ever canvasses us. And I'm like, I haven't seen anybody here for the last few election cycles. And for me, it was important to get FaceTime and to also talk to people about, like, the shit that I'm saying is not radical. It's actually very reasonable. And I'm not an insane person. I'm not a psycho. I'm not some weirdo. I'm a normal dude who went through something, and it informed my policies. And so I learned what it means to be the guy who is the one everyone looks at. And I learned what it's like to work with other people and kind of realize that, the ideas that I have are good, but they could be better. And I arrived to this city council race and made my team of people who were going to, say, hey man, that's a good idea, but we can take it further. Or, hey, that's actually a bad idea. You should think about it this way. And I think I was able to get my own ego out of the way, to take notes, to work with other people and say, you know what? The germ of an idea that I had is good, but I can work on it more. And so it was really rewarding. Again, it is so tough on your mental health. It is so tough on your personal life. It's a whole thing. But I would say to people, electoralism sucks. It's not going to save us. But as long as it's around and it's something that can actually have consequence in people's lives, we need people there who share our beliefs, whose moral compass is set to abolition. And again, city council does what it does, and people who talk a big game when they're on the campaign trail will then turn around and betray people and sell their people out. And that's still something we have to watch out for. But again, as long as electoralism is a viable thing that fucks with people's lives, either making them better or making them worse, we need to take it seriously. And so for me, it was one avenue of hundreds that I could have taken, and I did it. I'm proud of it. I told myself I'd never do it again, and now I'm to the point where it's like, I think I'll run again. I just have to be a lot smarter than I was. And again, never having run for office, you make a lot of fucking mistakes, and there is that sense of like, man, if I could just do it again without making those mistakes, I would do so much better.
Well, I mean, let me just to give people in my chat like some reference. When I moved to LA, I joined DSA. I went to like a few meetings with the Abolitionist group in DSA, and was meeting with like 4 or 5 other white people on a Zoom, as part of the Abolitionist like coalition within DSA. And very quickly I was just like, this is not the people I want to be leading, or the people that I want to be leading me in the abolitionist struggle in LA right now. And I was very fortunate to find your campaign like super early on in the after you announced. And your campaign and People's City Council and Robinson Space are they gave me a political home in the city, which is like something that I cherish and I appreciate every day. So
and I'm happy that I did it. And again, it's something I think about all the time. And I'm like, I drive by Virgil and Fountain, and we had a billboard there. There's a billboard that said, take money away from cops and give it to the, it was like, I was literally on there wearing a t-shirt of my old podcast. So that was cool as hell. Like, hey, free advertising. But, you had these billboards. And what I loved about running for city council actually was that it was a creative outlet. It's like, as long as there are rules you need to follow. If you're going to put out an email, if you're going to put out a flyer, it has to have the disclaimer and all that stuff. But other than that, you can message kind of however you want. And for me, it was so much fun to be like, okay, we're doing a music fundraiser at Silver Lake Lounge, and I'm going to make it look like an old punk flyer from the house shows I used to go to. We put Mitch O'Farrell's face on it. We blacked out a couple of his teeth and X'd out his eyes. And, it was like, and I wore my Nazi punks fuck off shirt to the fundraiser. It was like, you were able to do that, and you were able to message how you wanted and find, that campaign introduced me to so many important people in my life. You being one of them, Cynthia, Christina. So all these people who I now love and cherish. It's like, oh, it came out of me doing this campaign. And there's times where I'm like, man, that campaign really fucked me up. It sucked. I hated it. And then I think about, oh yeah, but like, I wouldn't know all these homies, and I wouldn't know that like in this city there are people. We got over 2,000 votes. Hey, that's not bad. But like 2,000 fucking people voted for me. They could have voted for the guy who they probably knew was going to win, but they were like, hey, I'm a principled person, and I believe that Albert Corado is the best choice. And guess what? I was the best fucking choice, because Ugo now is fucking, blowing kisses to the cops and fucking, giving them more money every year. So I was right all along. But you know what I mean? Like, it's nice to know that like those people were like, hey, we fuck with you and you're right. And my vote could go somewhere else, but I wanna give you my support. And I'll still, dude, every 2 weeks, see someone on the street who's like, hey man, I voted for you. And it's like, warms my heart so much to know that there's like badass people out there who like saw through the bullshit and were like, this is the guy to do it,
Yeah. 2,000 people is not an insignificant, what I mean, number. Like that's 2,000 people who were down to throw their vote your way. That's like 2,000 people that probably have friends that they talk to, friends and family and coworkers that they talk to. Maybe not everybody threw their vote, or like is is down to vote, or like whatever it is. But that's a representation, of a bunch of people that are on the same page with very core issues.
Yeah, no, it was a really significant accomplishment, and even like, being a part of the campaign and remembering like how big the canvases that we had were, like where we had like 40 or 50, 60 people that were all going out and knocking doors, and the amount of people that you activated, it was a very significant campaign regardless of the results of the election.
Yeah, I mean, I remember we sold hoodies and driving out to the Valley. Someone who supported the campaign couldn't vote for me, but like, hey, we appreciate you. But she bought 5 hoodies for her and her sister and her family, and I was like, this is I grew up in the Valley, so to go to the Valley and to give these hoodies to this person who like just fucked with the campaign that she spent close to $300 of her own money to get these. It was just, to me, it was very surreal. And like, yeah, I mean, it was, we really did something special. And like, sometimes the toll it took on me is at the forefront, and I look at it negatively, but ultimately, we did something special, and hopefully, maybe if I run again, it'll be even better, but we'll see.
For what it's worth, someone in my chat just says, "I'm proud to be a voter of Albert."
Hell
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I love that.
So we have Angelinos
amazing.
in here, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know. I've known you for a few years now, and I remember after the campaign, you were just like, "Fuck this! I'll never do it ever again." And more recently, I have heard you saying stuff like you just said, where like maybe if I run again, which makes me really excited. So I'm looking forward to that if it happens.
Well, I mean, honestly, man, like I think some of it too is like, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm the only person who's doing this, but like every cycle since I ran has been filled with like disappointing people. I'm sorry, like people. It was like they took what I did, and I thought, okay, maybe the next guy is gonna get 4,000 votes. Whatever. Not to say that I want it to be incremental, but I'm like, I thought I broke the fucking seal, and like, hey, we're gonna get more abolitionists. Everyone said Eunice was an abolitionist and whatever, but like, who knows? Her record hasn't been amazing so far. She's not been super terrible. I'll give her credit. But I thought, hey, this is gonna get more people activated. Someone who's more savvy and less abrasive than me is gonna go and use our policies to get a better, turnout or something like that. And it just hasn't happened. And so I'm like, if everyone's gonna be a fucking coward about it and actually, not be good or not be effective or be transparent about what they really want, then I should do it again, because I'm tired of sitting here having people who are running for city council or whatever office being touted as this progressive fucking hero, and it's like, no, I know who your fucking friends are, I know who you're taking pictures with, and I know who is endorsing you, and you're gonna do exactly what they fucking tell you, because you're already thinking about your reelection, just like Ugo was the moment he stepped into office, just like Nithya was and still is. Like, I'm just tired of people running and people telling me, hey, you should check them out. I'm like, no, they don't pass my fucking test. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not some moral arbiter, but like, if they're not even messaging what anywhere close to what I was, I don't fuck with them. I don't care. I don't endorse people, but they can also kick rocks if they're not going to actually have some fucking guts and say what you actually believe in, not obfuscate or be, cute about it or whatever. No, you either say what you mean or get the fuck out of my face, and you don't deserve my endorsement or my attention. Or again, people city council, we choose, hey, let's retweet some shit, let's maybe show a little bit of support, but I'm telling you, there are people who want us to like help them and to use our platform, and we're like, no, you do not. You're taking pictures with people who are causing harm, because when you get into office, you're going to kick it with them, and you're going to benefit from the same shit they benefit from, and you're going to sell people out. So fuck you. And that's ultimately what we're about, is like, we're down with you as long as you're down with the movement. The moment you're not down, fuck off. I don't care who you are. If we're homies, if I had lunch with you, I don't care, man. We're talking about serious shit. My sister was killed by LAPD. Israel is fucking murdering Palestinian people. Like, if you're not on the side of the good or whatever, then I don't know. I can't do anything for you.
Yeah, that was one thing that I immediately drew me to your campaign, was that I knew it wasn't driven off of some like personal aspirations, ambition. I think ambition is like the enemy of like progressive politics in many ways, and like, we always knew with you that like it wasn't, there was no fronting. Like we didn't, I never felt like we needed to hold you accountable, because like the reasons why you were running were very pure. Like there was, like what is right, doing what is right to Melly was always going to be at the front of your mind. And I didn't need to worry about like, you doing anything out of personal ambition, because it was always driven by like this desire for justice based on your own personal experience dealing with the police state.
Yeah, I mean, also, I have to admit, though, that I was student body president in 5th grade, so I'm just saying, I had a history of...
Oh, the jig is up. It's exposed.
Hey, I wrote a good speech, and I don't even remember what I did as student body president, but it was fun, and so I think I felt the power, and I said, you know what, in 25 years, I'm gonna run for something.
Mr. Popular right here.
Every Friday or no vote. Okay,
Yeah.
you don't get my vote unless I'm telling you
I
right
was,
now.
you know what though, 5th grade I was popular, and then you go to middle school and you realize that doesn't count for anything. But that's a story for another time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I did want to. We usually do this for an hour, and we're hitting an hour now. But this is going so great. I do want to keep going if you're okay with it, Albert.
Yeah. I'm chilling, yeah.
And I'm gonna share my screen real fast if I. And what's going on? All right, here we go. So I wanted to bring up a news story from today. So we had over the weekend we had protests at a synagogue in LA that was selling Palestinian land at an auction to only Jewish people, and people in LA protested that. Like a lot of Palestinian groups came out and protested it. The same fascist elements that attacked the UCLA encampment during the night before the police raided the encampment came out and brutalized a lot of Albert and I's comrades in a really horrific way. Albert, I don't know how you felt about watching those videos, but me personally, I was pretty terrified and pretty just in general, very alarmed at the state of where things are going on the ground in LA. Seems like violence and political violence and the lack of protection and the need for us to rely on ourselves for safety is just getting more and more extreme. And I don't really know where it goes from here. I mean, I feel like I do, but that's what scares me about it,
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to see. I mean, one of the journalists who got beat up at the outside of the synagogue or whatever is a guy who is a friend of ours, a guy who I see at a lot of stuff, and he's a good dude, and to see that is wild. And it's I mean, I think what we're seeing, I think what's really troubling to me is that as much as we push back, as much as we prove that the shit that the news media is saying, that Karen Bass is saying is patently untrue and false and not even based in reality, is we can only do so much. But it's every news outlet is running with it. Every fucking person of note seems to be, being paid off by AIPAC, and it's so fucking heinous, and it's really troubling to see that, because I'm you're right, where do we go from here? It's only going to get worse, as far as if we can't get more and more people out to these things, people are putting themselves in danger. And it's we know that we want to go to these things, we want to go and be at every protest, be at every action, so that way our people are safe and we can, the strength in numbers and all that. But we fucking live in a society where it's we have to work, we have to do things, we also have to just take care of ourselves. And I learned long ago, when I was trying to go to every thing that everybody would ask me to go to, every event or whatever, I was so burned out and so anxious, because I'm just I can't be here living in it all the time, and so it's hard to look at people being brutalized and be man, I should have been there. But also I don't, you got to take care of yourself, and we also have things in our life that keeps us away from that stuff. And so to me, it's really fucked up and sad to see Karen Bass sit there and try to make this somehow some anti-Semitic thing. And as much as we push back, it just doesn't seem to have the intended effect. And I mean, you would think that people seeing the violence there, the violence at UCLA, the fucking horrific things coming out of Gaza every single day, would somehow sway people. And it's only making the Zionists more rabid and willing to do things in public, being filmed, that are insane. The fact that people are easily found, the woman who was calling people the F slur and saying all that, they found her within an hour. And it's she just is so fucking emboldened, and you can find pictures of her with kids and cops and all that, and she's so emboldened that she does that. To me, it just shows that we're dealing with a different animal than we maybe ever have. These people are so emboldened, they're doing this and will face no consequences, because the Zionists have done a really good job of conflating Israel and Judaism and making criticism of Israel tantamount to anti-Semitism. It keeps me up at night, honestly.
Yeah, me too. I think the biggest thing to me is not only will they be not only are they able to be violent on the streets and like to beat up the people that we, you and I both know, and get away with that without the police like arresting them for the obvious crimes that are happening in broad daylight in front of them, but you have the fucking president of the United States. You have like Mayor Karen Bass, U.S. Congress people, every single facet of the Democratic Party lining up to defend the Zionists, to say they were right, to applaud their violence. Like, that's the craziest thing. And so, yeah, I have some further reporting by Sean, who's the journalist we're all talking about here when we talk about somebody.
News.
Yeah, a cat with news who got he got beaten up at the protest, like got punched and assaulted numerous times. But we have here on the in this in my shared screen, the Karen Bass had a press conference yesterday at the Holocaust, or the Museum of Tolerance, which is like the Holocaust Memorial Museum in LA. It is very explicitly Zionist. They also hosted a screening organized by Gal Gadot earlier, like at the end of last year. That was like a weird like documentary about like stuff, like basically showing footage from October 7th. And I don't know why anyone would want to watch that, but apparently it was like an invite-only event, and people protested that, and that was also controversial at the time too. But we have Karen Bass here speaking on, at this event and talking. So there's like two things. There are multiple things that are a problem with this. But first off, she's talking, and there's a person standing behind her that is wearing an InfoWars hat. Like, wearing an InfoWars hat. This person is named Adam King, regularly goes on Alex Jones's podcast, has had like multiple interactions with Gavin McInnes, open neo-Nazi, Nick Fuentes, open neo-Nazi, and white supremacist Vincent James Fox. So this person was literally like, this is who Karen Bass is locking arms with, as she announces that she basically wants to make protesting illegal in the state of Los Angeles. And it's just like very shocking. It's very shocking to me to see the events, to see the on the ground reporting that came out of what happened on Sunday, to know the faces of the Zionist people who are like fucking attacking people. Because not only have I seen them at protests at UCLA being extremely horrific and vitriolic, but we've seen them, like in many Twitter threads where people are trying to find the people who are attacking people. And it's just shocking. So I guess my the question I want to put to you guys is like, with these like mask mandates and everything, like, how do we, like, is there any way to like maintain like a protest culture that like works with the state, that is not explicitly illegal? And how does our protest culture change if it is explicitly illegal? Do we like, what do we how do we behave as protesters? And
that's tough. I think that's really tough, because this is a problem on a lot of fronts, obviously. But liberals are obviously willing to stand and literally, quote unquote, lock arms with InfoWars goofballs, and throw immunocompromised and disabled people just to the wind. I've seen a lot of like journalists say that, like, I'm not familiar with their name off the top of my head, but I saw a journalist who was saying that they can't show up to things, one, because they're a femme presenting and it's violent and dangerous at things like this for people like that, and also two, that like they had cancer and they have no immune system, and now they're unable to go do their work at situations, at events like this. So they've just been, they're not allowed to do their job, or to do like something that is like a very important part of like our society, journalism and things like this. I don't know, like, I really don't know. It's going to be used to it's going to be weaponized against poor people and people of color who are just like on the bus going through the area, like, you know, to going to work, where if there's a protest in the nearby and somebody is like sitting at a bus stop with a mask on, like, are they going to be subject to being like harassed by the police now? Like, this is just the expanding of the police state, just period. I mean, classic situation, but it's tough. Like, what can we do about this specific situation right now? I really am at a loss, except for maybe like normalize mask wearing, even outside of protest situations, to normalize mask wearing outside of protest situations, to remind people that it is more than just like, I guess like an identity, like a, you know, like a privacy thing, which is a big part of it, obviously. Um, and you know, like I really don't know, because like I said, this is going to be used disproportionately to affect the most vulnerable amongst us,
Yeah.
as most things are. So like, I think we need to, I really don't know, building community, the same things that I say all the time, focusing on community so that we can reach out to people when you need help. And maybe that could also mean normalizing mask wearing. And more people need to show out also. Like, we need
Yeah.
bodies. We need bodies, and those bodies should all be wearing masks, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like, to I really, like, that's the only thing I can think.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with that. I think that's where I was going. Is like, some good old fashioned civil disobedience. Everyone shows up with a
Mhm.
mask. We do a big march like the ones that happen in, by City Hall, and just the requirements is like, hey, like we need to make sure that, like, because they can't get all of us, right? Like, they're going to go after some people and all that, but like, if everyone is wearing one, I mean, there's also the legal side of this. It will be taken to court. I'm sure there are people working on lawsuits right now. Who knows how long those will take? But I do think that normalizing mask wearing is really a good idea. I mean, I think that a lot of us have fallen off. I mean, I know people who still mask around everywhere they go, and I think that'd be probably better if everyone did that. But I do think we need to bring out the masses to do it more. I think we need to bring people. The issue with is, I think a lot of people, because the Palestine issue and the Zionists are so violent, I think people are steering clear of some of this stuff because, like, they're afraid they're going to be assaulted. So on the one hand, I think we need to do more sort of, again, like those big marches that happen every few months now by City Hall, where like 10,000 people show up. That's where I think you kind of get back into people's heads. Hey, wear the mask, keep it on the whole time. They can't get all of us. And then hopefully that will carry on to the more, severe actions, or more, actions where things might go down. Again, there's no perfect answer. They really have a way of oppressing people, suppressing people. And so I think it's a matter of trying to find a bunch of different ways to do this, and to have some civil disobedience. And yeah, I think that's kind of where it stands right now. And it sucks to not have a better answer, but unfortunately, that's the authority here has all the power.
Yeah. I think we'll have to see how they're, like, how is it enforced? Like, what is the law? Like, obviously there's a lot we don't know right now. But I think, like, if it becomes something where, like, people with masks are, like, specifically targeted for wearing a mask at protests, and, like, that becomes an issue, like, I think there could be a world in which, similar to, like, in Black Lives Matter, how, like, if you're a white guy, like, your role is at the front of the protest, and your role is, like, to be the body blocking the police from reaching the people of color who they will be more brutal with. Like, people like us, like, who are already public facing, are already showing our faces and owning our politics in, like, a very explicit way. It might be useful for us to go without a mask and like be at that front line that protects the people who need to protect their identity for whatever reason, or something like that. But again, there's so much we don't know about this law. There's so much we don't know about the way that police will choose to enforce it at protests and everything like that. Because again, like, this law is designed to curtail violence happening during protests in LA, when the majority of the violence is happening from people who are unmasked. Like, it's not the mask that's causing the violence, it's the ideology and these people feeling so, like, untouchable, and they're fucking right. Like, they're fucking right.
We saw how many people, masked individuals, were quote unquote unmasked, like ID'd later, like masked attackers, Zionist attackers at USA were like quote unquote unmasked and ID'd later on, who are facing no repercussions.
Exactly.
One misdemeanor. So on top of that, I would say, like, you made a good point about like there are people who the people who have certain privileges should be at the front, whether that's physically at on a line in the street, or at the front of a movement, figuratively, whatever. I think that another way that you can do that is actually I'll put, like, disagree a little bit with a part of what you said. A part of what you could do as somebody with those privileges is wear a mask to normalize it for maybe the disabled person who also wants to still show up to protest.
Yeah,
because disabled people should also be welcomed in, obviously in our movement, and they have the right to voice their First Amendment right, in their right to be heard and be on the streets and do, direct action as well. So, like, I think the more privileged amongst us mogas could help them by also wearing a mask, and I mean, like, it's and like we could, same like with what we saw in NYC. It's not protests in NYC, it's the subway in NYC. So, like, in NYC, the mask ban is going to explicitly be used to disproportionately to hurt the more vulnerable a part of the population. So, like, we don't have public transportation, much to our dismay here in LA, but like they don't have the ability to do something like that. They can't say, like, everybody on the freeway is not allowed to wear a mask, or like something like that. I don't know.
Also, you should triple bag it, put like 3-4 masks on. If they try to rip it off, you got a bunch more. Fuck with their heads.
Like the Scooby-Doo, right. You rip one mask off, you keep, yeah.
Exactly. Hey, Or everybody show up wearing like it's gonna get pricey, like a Michael Myers mask or something,
Yeah.
Get in
we should get latex Karen Bass masks made.
Wait, no, that's blackface. I just thought of it.
Oh yeah, wait, I can't wear that. I can't wear that.
Only a white person. Only white faces, folks. Only white faces.
Can we be Krikorian? Can somebody be the city council president? Is he white? I don't know. He's white passing. Whatever.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, no, he's definitely white. Come on. All right. Well, thank you, Albert. Thank you so much for coming on. Do you have anything you want to plug? Anything that you are excited about coming up, or any socials you want to plug in here?
Films for Gaza. Check it out tomorrow if you're around. Buy some tickets. Okay, Robinson Space Sticker Club. Look us up on Patreon or Robinson Space website. $13.12 a month. You help keep the lights on, help pay people to do admin and other stuff. We design a new sticker every month. We have a lot of fun deals for people on Patreon. We have raffles. We raffle off zines and books and stuff like that. We usually do like bonus stickers and all that, all of it kind of based around abolition or some sort of messaging. We've had really fun ones in the past. We just did a run of Captain Planet that says "fuck the police," Powerpuff Girls that said "all power to the people." So, we try to come up with fun ideas and give people some perks. Listen to my podcasts, All Valley Everything if you like the San Fernando Valley. Oops All Bangers if you like music. We talk about people's favorite albums. People City Propaganda is the People City Council podcast, which has been kind of on a hiatus, but we're going to start doing episodes soon. Check that out. Follow me on Instagram, Digital Ash, and then Digital Earn URN on Twitter. Come fuck with me. I try to post political stuff, but most days I'm more of in a jokey mood. So watch me shit post about eating pussy and other fun stuff. Come hang out. But thanks for having me,
Based.
Bret. Tofu, really good to meet you.
Yeah, great
We'll
to meet
have to
you as
talk
well.
about some darkroom stuff. Come to the space.
Oh
We'll hang.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bret, I love you. Thank you so much. You inspire me. You're super cool, man. I love you. Just
Real shit.
wanted to make sure you knew that, man.
No, I love you too, Albert. It's great to have you on, and it won't be the last time. You'll be definitely a recurring character on the show. Anytime I can have you on,
Hell yeah.
I would love to. So,
Sweet. Sounds good, y'all.
all right, take care, Albert.
Have a
Bye.
good one, man.
Thank you, Tofu.
That was awesome.
Incredible one. Another one. A banger.
Another one.
A banger. So yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, definitely make sure you're following both Tofu, Ghost, and I on Twitch, and Twitter, and whatever else, like find us if you can. We'll put it in the description of the video. But thank you so much, Tofu. Really, really appreciate the space we have.
That's awesome. Thank you for like always setting these up, and on top of what he said, just real quick, thank you for doing like the films for Gaza. Those things they have been so awesome. I've been really shitty about like making sure to like watch movies. It's not that I don't like movies. It's like I just suck at watching movies. That space to do it with, also shouts out to the Robinson space, obviously, for hosting it, but you for putting that together and working with the filmmakers and like not only being able to just watch the movies but like talk to people. Like it's so awesome. All of that is so awesome. That it's so cool that people like Albert and you exist and do things, and I'm very grateful. It's awesome.
Hell yeah, Tofu.